I love that song. Every time I hear that song, I think, man, why is this not the song that my alarm clock goes off to? Just get you all fired up. And Ron Paul supporters are fired up coast to coast as we see this growth in this movement. The idea that freedom and liberty can once again reign in this nation is just electrifying people. And we're seeing thousands and thousands of people showing up at events from coast to coast. I myself have been at a few. And it is just amazing to see this passion reignite in the hearts of people. You know, for so long we thought, oh, here we go down this road of lesser of two evils, repetitively, until we grind ourselves into oblivion. And make no mistake, that is definitely the direction the country is going. However, I have always said and believed that if there's a breath left in us, there's an opportunity for victory. And it's these events that really get me excited, especially when we look at the growth of the movement and where we're heading in the future. Regardless of what happens, where we're heading in the future is just an amazing place because freedom and liberty is on the rise. And it's one of these events that I want to talk about specifically today, and we're joined by a very special guest in order to do so. His name is Brian Simon, and he is one of the organizers of Paul Festival. Now, if you haven't heard of this, it's going to be a huge event. Well, matter of fact, let's just welcome him to the show, and he can tell you all about it. Brian, welcome to the show. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Josh. Thank you for having me on.
Well, it is a pleasure.
Yeah, it is, and a great song to open up the segment with, by the way.
I love that song. That song is just awesome. We're trying to get Amy on the show, so let's see how that goes. But okay, so tell us a little bit about this festival, and then we'll backtrack a little bit and talk about why it's so important. But what is Paul Festival?
Well, Paul Festival is what we're deeming to be the largest festival for freedom the world has ever seen. And we're putting it together, you know, obviously to honor Ron Paul for the fact that he has really started a movement. You know, from my point of view, he cured my apathy. And, you know, getting involved in the political system and, you know, really understanding what's going on in the world as far as politics go, I owe it to Dr. Paul. So the festival is to honor Dr. Paul, but also it is to raise awareness for his message of freedom and liberty and hopefully cure a little bit more apathy out there.
You know, you bring up a very interesting point, and it's what Paul supporters have been trying to convey to those who haven't yet woken up to the truth, and that's the fact that it's really not about the man, Ron Paul, but it's about the message that he represents. I talked to a Ron Paul supporter yesterday who admitted, you know, not really that much of a fan of the congressman in the past, but it's that idea that he represents this return to freedom and liberty that's got their support, and I think that's growing.
You know, I think it's growing as well, and it's great to see. You know, the fight is hard, obviously, as you know, part of it, trying to convince people about this message and how it benefits us. And, you know, looking back, everybody's got their stories on how we think Dr. Paul became the person to carry this torch to deliver this message. When you consider it, I always hear comments like, well, I like his message, but he's not presidential because he just doesn't have a lot of charisma, things like that. You want to roll your eyes because you're like, well, if you like the message, who cares about the person delivering it so much as, you know, obviously he doesn't have criminal record or anything like that. He's a stand-up guy. So I think we can get past a little bit of charisma or not so much charisma, however you want to word it. But, yeah, the message is there. It's a popular message, as he likes to point out in all his speeches at all his rallies. And I think that's what's showing. When you look at the way his rallies are growing, you start out with 500 people so many years ago, and then you get 1,000, and now we get, 6,000, 7,000 people to his rallies? And I'd imagine Paul Festival, you know, is going to bring anywhere from 80 to 150,000 people to it once it's all said and done.
I would love to see 150,000 people at this festival. And you brought up an interesting point again with the charisma issue. We elected charisma before with Bill Clinton. You know, women around the country said, well, I'm voting for him because he has a trustworthy face and I like his personality. And the same thing is true with George Bush and Barack Obama. I think it's time we get away from charisma for a while and get back to somebody who just wants to do a job.
Exactly. Let's get to serious. Let's get to somebody who understands the oath of the office that he's taken there, who understands the job, who's not there to get rich, who's not there to enjoy life off the junkets that are provided by the taxpayers. You know, somebody who just wants to get back to the basic job description of whatever he's running for office. In his case, for 12 years, it was Congress, and he followed that job description, as far as I'm concerned, to the T. And I have no doubt that he'll do the same thing as president. And I think that's very important when you look at the true integrity of people. You mentioned Bill Clinton, and I think I got to laugh. I'm sure everybody listening got to laugh when you said everybody thought he looked trustworthy, just to find out what happened. And that's what we're getting these days. We're trying to vote for the next American Idol and not the next person who can seriously do the job. And it's a sad thing because we no longer in this race, and you've watched the debates, even the Republican debates, some of the questions are just so dumb and so stupid and have nothing to do with the job description that the person's running for or how they'll handle that job when they get in. And so it's really just in politics today become about who has the best suit.
Before we were so rudely interrupted by Tom Petty there, we were talking about this push for freedom, this growing movement in the hearts of people. And there's been a lot said about, the young people are coming to freedom. And that's great. That's true. And that movement is taken off on its own. It's like a wildfire. You really can't stop it. But the other side of that equation that's really starting to get me excited are the older people who are starting to do the same thing. I ran into some, I would say senior citizens, I'm not going to say elderly, but senior citizens, and they all had Ron Paul supporting stickers on the back of their cars too. And I thought, this is when you know it's going to change, because I have an infographic in front of me right now showing that the largest actual voting base isn't really the 18 to 25s. It's those 45s to 55s. Those are the largest percentage of people who come out and vote. And when we can start changing the minds of everybody, whether you're 18 or 80, that's something we need to get behind. And, one of the things that really sparks people and gets them feeling that we can make a change is this run and these series of events where thousands and thousands and thousands of people are joining and attending. And I want you to come to one this August. It's very vital that you make it there. I'm going to be there, so we're going to be broadcasting the show from Florida. Get down there. And we're talking to one of the organizers, Brian Simon. Now, Brian, getting back to the festival itself, because I want to make sure people make it there. How do people find out more about it? When is it going to be? Is there carpooling that's being set up? What's the plan on the logistical side of this thing?
Okay, do we have 2 hours? I can lay that all out for you. No, and to start with, I want to mention that the Paul Festival is an all grassroots event. This is not a corporate event. We've got a lot of volunteers. Nobody's paid for this job, and all the volunteers have been people who have done other events for the freedom movement in the past, and it's just a great lineup. I know you are friends with a couple of them on our team, and, I can't speak enough of them. It's so awesome to work with a group of people that is that motivated and that driven to not only see something like this done, but to change the course of history in this country, which is what we intend to do. As far as the festival goes, the details can actually be found at paulfestival.com. And, from there you can find everything you need. We do have a travel committee organized. We have a fancy organization that actually started back in 2008, Revolution Travel Management. And that's headed by Susan Wolf, and she's doing what we call the Ronvoys, which, as you were mentioning, carpool. So if you're looking to get down there and you want to avoid the TSA groping, we have a good, inexpensive way, and it's a fun way to get down there as well. If you go over to the Paul Festival website and you click on the travel and lodging link at the top, you can get all the details there of Ronvoy. And basically how it works is you say you want to ride down the Ronvoy, you give your city that you're in, and they organize carpools, people who rent vehicles, and drive you down there. So that's how it works. And, you can find at under $200, you can get down to Tampa.
And now the location, Tampa itself, a lot of people think, well, wait a second, isn't Tampa the same location that the RNC is going to have their convention? I mean, this had to be a fluke. You guys didn't plan on doing an event right before the RNC, did you? Wink, wink.
Pure coincidence. No. Actually, it was a big intention to do it right before the RNC. Obviously, we want all of Tampa to be Paul Festival when we get down there. With every day looking like it's going to be a brokered convention, Dr. Paul is winning the delegates in Louisiana, Minnesota, looks like Alaska, Maine. So the people that got involved and started getting involved in the process are making it work. So every day looks like brokered convention is going to be more possible. And so, yeah, we want to get down there. We want to show our support for Dr. Paul and for freedom, and we want to do it in the biggest, loudest way possible. Nonviolent way, of course. We want this to be a peaceful, fun event, but we still want it to be loud and big, and that is the intent of it, to just let everybody know that Dr. Paul's there and he's not going away, and neither is his message, and neither are those of us who have gotten involved because of him.
And, you know, that's really the thing that the GOP needs to realize. I'm kind of torn, to be honest with you, Brian. Part of me says I don't understand why the GOP would not readily embrace such a huge movement that's bringing thousands and millions of people to their party, but yet at the same time I kind of see the writing on the wall as to why there's some resistance. And the great thing about this festival is because, like you said, it's a fun activist sort of event. We're not being militant about anything, and it serves as a reminder to the GOP, listen, elections are cyclical. They're going to come back. You might want to start embracing this freedom message, because that message is the message that people are actually rallying around. And the great thing is they rally from all different parties. It's not just a Republican thing that is getting behind freedom, is it? I mean, we're seeing libertarians, constitutionalists, Green Party, anybody, and they're all getting behind our message.
Yeah, exactly. And what's important is that, you know, a lot of the big-name celebrities, a lot have come out in support of Dr. Paul and the message. And usually in the past, when celebrities come out and support a candidate, I usually, you know, get turned off by it, say, okay, you know, I might not watch your next movie. And I couldn't do that with Dr. Paul, because with everybody else trying to ignore him, it was refreshing to see people brave enough, you know, who are in the public light to come out and say, hey, he's got a good message and I support him. And so Paul Festival was kind of inspired by that. I mean, we do want to try to get some of these big-name celebrities who were brave enough to come out and support Dr. Paul down there to speak about their support for Dr. Paul, to perform in honor of Dr. Paul and the message. So, you know, we're looking across the spectrum from Vince Vaughn and Joe Rogan to Kelly Clarkson, all the way out there. We're looking to try to get these people down there to join us, you know, so we have one loud, big voice and to show that it's not just us crazy anarchists or whatever else we're labeled that support Dr. Paul, that, you know, there are real people out there that support Dr. Paul. Not that us anarchists aren't real people, but you get my point.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, you know, we're going away from the, you know, it's not just a bunch of, you know, 18-year-old that are getting out and going to college or doing whatever that support Dr. Paul. There's many different variety of people out there, different ages that support it, because it's the message, not the person. And that's what we want to really concentrate on here with this festival. And I think when you get some of the big-name people out there, you bring in crowds that would not necessarily have heard this message before, but now they're there to see their favorite performer, and they get to also see what it's like to be around the energy that comes with the movement that we have here. The positive energy, I guess, is the best way to describe it. And it's a lot of energy, as you say. When you go to some of these events, you feel it. It's just there.
Oh, yeah, you do. And I've been telling people since we started this show that candidates are a reflection of the culture. Cultures never create, or candidates don't create the culture. And when we start seeing celebrities come out in support of Ron Paul, it's kind of like saying, well, celebrities have brains too. Because we've always seen the left-leaning side of the entertainment world, and to see this transformation from people in music and film and, you know, other forms of entertainment coming to the realization that if we don't preserve freedom and liberty, all of the other political issues we might be fans of kind of get thrown away to the wayside. That's a reflection of how this movement is literally changing the culture, which should make everybody excited.
I think it should make everybody excited, and I think it is making people excited. I mean, once again, you look at the way the rallies are growing in support of Ron Paul, and there's no other way to look at it than people are getting excited and coming out in the numbers to support this. And, you know, I think that's what happens when the status quo just starts really weighing on people and you just feel this big weight on your back. You naturally start looking around for a place to dump that weight. And, you know, the Ron Paul movement gives you that place to dump the weight. You know, it's just this stumble down the rabbit hole, and you keep stumbling, and you're like, oh, my God, there's so much out there I never knew. You know, the Federal Reserve, the Patriot Patriot Act. You just start thinking, wow, that there is a way to get rid of this weight. We have an answer. We have a solution. So let's join in together and get to that. And having these celebrities be part of it, I think, is just very helpful in regards to pointing people to the direction and say, hey, I found a way to get rid of this weight off my shoulder. Here it is. Here's the message. Here's the person delivering it. Come out and check it out.
Well, I know there are a number of celebrities who listen to this show because they email me when I'm not on the air, and I want to just urge them, hey, you know what, if you're realizing, too, that it's time you stand up and use your influence to kind of motivate people and let them kind of make themselves aware of this movement and the need to stand up for it, contact us. And matter of fact, we've had 2 since we've started this show already today. We'll be back right after this. Well, there's no doubt the Paul Festival is going to be a fun event. It's going to be full of music and a few speakers. I heard that I'm emceeing a little bit of it. Obviously, we're going to be broadcasting there on Friday, doing a lot of recording. It is going to be a fun event. But make no mistake, it is an event that has a very important message. We find ourselves at a precipice, folks. We are at that edge where we are facing the end of what is really American. When we start losing freedoms, we lose America. And I know, everybody's always told you every election cycle is the most important. And the reason why that's true is because freedom is a living, breathing thing. It is the breath of this nation. And if we lose it and we stop breathing, then we cease to exist. And every year we go through this pattern of lesser of two evils, where we've gotten ourselves to a point now where we're literally regulating ourselves out of freedom and liberty. And it's time we stand up and do something about it. And that's why things like the Paul Festival are so vitally important. And we're talking to one of the organizers, Brian Simon. Now, Brian, one of the things that people need to realize that huge festivals like this, while they're large and attention-getting and the media gets involved and celebrities get involved, they're not free, are they?
No, they definitely are not. And there's a big cost to putting it on it. Unfortunately, not everybody out there has embraced Dr. Paul's message yet. So, getting the favors that we would like from some of the venues or celebrities just because we're fans of Dr. Paul doesn't seem to quite be going our way, but we expected that going into it. It's a big undertaking, and when we're a volunteer group like we are, once again, as I said earlier, not a corporate event, we're always looking to raise money. And so as of now, what we've got is we're taking in some donations, anything that we can get, as a small contribution from people to help us get the basic funds to get this started and kicked off. Eventually we'll have ticket sales and we'll have vendors and sponsors to help pay for the really big expenses of this event. But right now what we need is some donations, some minor contributions to help get kicked off with the basic stuff to get started. And that's what we're looking for. Beyond that, We'll make this a success. We'll get the people there. We'll get the ticket sales. We'll get the sponsors. But, that little jump start is what we're looking for.
And just think of how good you would feel donating to this event, because it's just a little shot of irony, a little slap across the face, because you're donating this Federal Reserve currency to an event supporting a candidate that wants to end the Federal Reserve. So it's kind of a way of sticking it to the man, if you think about it. So go ahead, if you believe money's losing its value anyway, then throw some in the direction of the Paul Festival so that we can continue our effort in getting the value back to the currency. Now, tell us a little bit more about how the event's going to operate. Obviously, it's a couple days prior to the RNC. Are you going into this with the impression that you're going to influence the vote? Because there's a lot of naysayers that are going to say, well, what if he doesn't win? Then is it all for naught? And I say, absolutely not. Regardless of the outcome, freedom is on the march. What do you say as one of the organizers?
Well, I have to agree 100% with you. Regardless of whether Dr. Paul gets the nomination at the convention or not, freedom's going to continue to march on, and we're going to continue to push for what we know is right. Having said that, if he doesn't get the nomination, we hope that he continues on running for the President of the United States, whether it be Libertarian or some other third party. So regardless, Paul Festival is there to bring awareness to Dr. Paul and his campaign. Will it influence the RNC? Hard to say. Do we want it to? It would be great. There's no doubt about it. It would be great to get down there, see all the on-bound delegates, and there's 500 or so delegates right now up for grabs. So it would be great for them to get down there, see all the excitement around Ron Paul, start talking to people and find out why we support Ron Paul so passionately. And who knows, perhaps at the time of voting on the floor, they start thinking about that and start wondering, why does this guy Ron Paul have all this attention and this other guy Mitt Romney just have Goldman Sachs money? And if they start thinking about that, maybe it will influence the RNC, and maybe Dr. Paul comes out of it with the nomination. If not, it doesn't end the movement.
And we have a lot of delegates who listen to this show because every time there seems to be a delegate issue in the news, a bunch of delegates contact me and say, hey, I can be on the show to talk about that. So I know you delegates are out there listening. On the website, there's a very interesting price point or admission price for delegates. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing for delegates.
Well, we're offering them help with the ride as far as the envoys go down to the event. So if you're a delegate, there's going to be funds that are collected to help pay for your ride to get down there, so you don't have to worry about it. Also, we're working out the details, and we still got to work with the ticketing center and how we're going to do that. But we would like to put together some special package for the delegates to get into the event. It's been talked about to a big discount all the way down to free. Obviously, until I have the details of what we can give the delegates completely, I can't announce it. But we do know for the travel side of it, we are going to do everything we can to make sure that the delegates get their ride paid for down there. And, looking back at 2008, there was a lot of people who were looking for that kind of help. I personally knew some delegates, and they were putting up chip-in widgets on their own personal sites, trying to raise, $250, $500, whatever they needed to get to the RNC then. And I believe that's going to be the case this time. So hopefully they don't have to put in the chip-in widgets on their site. They just go join the Envoy, prove to us that they're a delegate, and we'll get them down to Tampa.
Well, that is absolutely amazing. I have to tell you, Brian, I am so excited about this event because, like I said, I've been to a number of these stump rallies with Congressman Paul, through this campaign, and I've seen the crowds grow and grow and grow. And I can only imagine the electrical feeling that people are going to get knowing that in a couple of days the RNC is going to be taking place, and you're just part of this crescendo. It's kind of like anybody who's ever been to a Ron Paul event from coast to coast thus far really needs to make it to this, because it's that the fruition of all that labor, the fruition of all that support and effort, and literally people praying that Ron Paul continues in his campaign, and it allows us that opportunity to celebrate the path that we've been through over the past several months and the future that's ahead of us.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a good, big celebration. As we keep talking about all these rallies that have been coming up that the media has been ignoring, but the people on YouTube who have their video cameras and posting videos have not. And if you just look around the country at these 5,000 people rallies, these 7,000 people rallies, you start adding that up, and all of them show up for the Paul Festival, and you very easily have 100,000 people down there in one location. And I think that's what's important. I know, to get to a Philadelphia rally, and you live in L.A., it might not be easy to get to, and of course it's a one-day rally, and so you don't do it. We're looking at a 3-day event down here in Paul Festival, plus the RNC, which the Veterans for Ron Paul are holding a march down there. During the RNC. There's another Liberty March that's going on after the RNC. So, let's just make Tampa, all of Tampa, the whole week before and after the RNC, Paul Festival. And that's what the goal is, to get all these people that are at these rallies to one location and combine them so we have this loud voice screaming freedom.
And I want to express, too, because you pointed it out, and I thought it was brilliant, that Paul supporters just aren't the young, 18 to 21s. I mean, this is something that if you're 50, you should attend. If you're 40, you should make sure you're there. It's something that's going to be, family-friendly, so you're going to want to bring your 17-year-olds who are going to be voting next time. This is something you really want to get everybody to, isn't it?
Exactly, and especially if you're out there and you've been trying to get a family or friend moved from the dark side back over to our side over here, the light, the freedom side, then this is the perfect event to get them down there, because we're going to have speakers on top of just, we're not just going to have music like a normal festival. We're actually going to have speakers. We're looking at people like Thomas Woods Jr., Michael Scheuer. These people who have spoken in the past on stuff. Michael Scheuer is very good on foreign policy. Thomas Woods Jr. knows his American history. He knows the Constitution. So if you're looking to find a way to help convince people who are on the fence about whether they support Dr. Paul or not, this would probably be a good event to bring them to because of all the different activities. There's just going to be so much activism down there. I don't think there's any way after they go to a Paul festival that they'll be able to say, I don't support Dr. Paul. I mean, things will start making sense. His foreign policy will start making sense. His message of liberty will start making sense. And then you should be able to convince more people. You know, I work on my relatives all the time, and I got to say the baby boomers in my family are the hardest to convince, but I'm starting to get some of them convinced. They're starting to see it. You know, we're starting to get around that, well, I like everything about Ron Paul except for his foreign policy. It's like, wow, so you don't like anything about Mitt Romney but his foreign policy, so that's how you're going to vote? And they start seeing the problem with that. And, you know, so you got to work on it. And I think Paul Festival, I'm going to do everything I can to get as many of my family and friends who are on the fence about Ron Paul down to that event. You know, of course, being one of the organizers, it's really great for me to run around and try to get them all excited about it. But you should do it. Everybody should do it. And whether they're on the fence, whether they're, you know, far left or just so neocon, get them down there. Let them see the energy. Let them see the excitement. Let them hear the message that we're talking about. And they might not be a neocon anymore afterwards.
Well, Brian, thank you so much. We're up against the end of the hour. I mean, just think about it, folks. I mean, great speakers. You have logic, reason, and strategy set to music. How much better could it get? All right, first hour's done and in the can. When we come back, we'll talk about Michelle Bachmann, who's now evidently campaigning for Obama. No, I'm not kidding. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll be back right after this.